Here tonight, start our meeting with the prayer by our former chair, Kenny Golden, followed by the pledge by Robert Dean.
Who?
Led by Robert
Who let
Dean.
the dog out?
Yes. I got it right here.
Okay.
Please bring yours.
The old dog, yeah.
I didn't know how to start it.
Please, if you will,
I could have done that.
join me in prayer. Our Heavenly Father, we come to you tonight with thanksgiving. Thanksgiving us for helping us bring our state back from the brink of disaster,
Amen.
which certainly would have happened had a different result occurred. We want to thank you for inspiring the candidates that supplied the effort and all the volunteers that went out and went door to door and helped bring this state back to where it needs to be. Help us now as we go into the next phase of bringing our wonderful country and our wonderful state and our wonderful city back to the central part of where your inspiration makes a difference on our lives. We ask you to help us do this. And in your name we pray. Amen.
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 And now we'll have the Pledge of Allegiance led by Robert Dean.
And with all the gusto you have and all the great patriotism, especially this day after this election, let's say the Pledge of the United States of America in this old glory. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. No money for size was brought to you tonight by Senator Bill D. Step.
Size don't matter.
And next time he gets reelected, it'll be a full size.
Okay. Okay, folks. I'd like to recognize some public officials we have in the audience. We have School Board Member Laura Hughes. We have Virginia Dare Soil and Water Conservation Director Leslie Jones. We have the chair of the Republican Party over here of City Committee, Bill Curtis. And we have a candidate here, Karen Greenhall, and we're all praying that she wins. That's so close. So have I missed anybody? Okay. Because I usually do. Jerome is running next year. He's not a candidate this year. Anyway, oh yeah, and the chair of the Libertarian Party, Robert Dean, who just led us in the prayer. Okay.
I did not come here to be insulted.
Ready? Here we go.
You're in the wrong place.
Just think how lucky you are now.
Okay, so tonight we're going to get an update on what's going on in the elections and what we did good, what we did bad, what we could do better. And that's going to be done by our Senator Bill DeSteff. Bill DeSteff is a Navy veteran. He served on city council. He then went on to be a delegate in the House and the General Assembly, and then later on went to become our senator in the General Assembly. Let's have a big round of applause for Senator Bill DeSteff.
What Diana's trying to say is I can't keep a job. Speaking of jobs, what's the best social program? A job. Excellent. So this is going to be very interactive tonight. So what I want you to think about is, what did you see that we did right? What did you see that we did wrong? What did you see that we could improve on? And the reason I'm doing this is doing a big hot wash with everybody. I've talked to 2 members of the Glenn Youngkin campaign already. got a third that we've had a partial conversation, we've not finished it. And I've got like 6 other campaigns that I'm working with to find out what we do right, what we do wrong, and what can we do better. You have Karen Greenhall, our delegate-elect here. And I'm gonna put her on the spot and have her ask or say or tie when he really ran everything. What did we do right? What did we do wrong? And what didn't we out of the place of the phone? Sorry about that, guys. I apologize for the live streamers. For everybody else, I want to make sure I walk around a little bit so I can see everybody. I don't want anyone to think I'm ignoring them. So here's what happens from here. Governor's working on the transition team. They've got it together. They're working on that now. They'll start going through budgets. They'll start going through offices. I'm sure Ralph is not going to act like the Clintons and take the furniture out of the mansion. Ralph is classier than that. He's definitely not going to do that. Everybody should be getting ready for our kick butt inauguration up there in Richmond. It is going to be fantastic. Really looking forward to that. So let's get down to the meat of this. Well, and I'm going to hit 3 things. What's that?
Can't see on camera, so
Oh,
this way more.
Can't see me on camera.
Yeah.
Come over this. How's that? This way. All right, right here.
Ron, come over here.
All right.
I don't know, I did something.
I guess we need a trackable camera. We'll have to work on that for next time. Well, the demo ones. Yeah. Anyways, so I'll kick it off and tell you what I think we did right. So this was one of the first times that I think we had a consistent message. I think we had one ballot at the poll with everybody's pictures on it.
Yes.
And I'm not there with 5 different things trying to make sure, wait, I didn't give you this one. Please vote for this person too. We had truly one ballot, all pictures. It was focused, easy. We had people saying, which one's the Republican ballot? This one. And, you know, being one of the folks up in Richmond, I can always say, hey, I need help in Richmond. Can you vote for these people and give me the help I need? And a lot of folks were very receptive to that. I will tell you that one of the other things I think we did right, sign placement, our signs were in legal places. Our signs were crisp, clear, easy to read. There are a lot of signs in the past that haven't been that way, not recognizable, quickly recognizable. When you saw the red sign this time, red and white, that was Youngkin, you knew that was Youngkin, right?
Oh, yeah.
You saw blue and gold, you were like, is that Tanya Gould? Is that Terry McAuliffe? Who is that? And you just said, heck with it, it's Tanya Gould's. And you just blasted by. I think this is one of the few times that we actually had a lot of things going on in our schools. This is the first time I saw some really perturbed moms that wanted to get engaged, get involved, and get it straight and get it right. When you've got folks that are seeing the pictures and the things we are in school books, when you have folks talking about critical race theory and they're like, oh, we don't teach that in school in Virginia, but we put it out at Department of Education, we put it out on different things. Yes, we do teach it. Okay, call it whatever you want, that's what it is. When you tell our parents that we do not want you involved in your child's education, we just slapped the face of every member that's on a PTA, PTSA, and said, hey, we don't want you to involve. We don't want to listen to you. And let's face it, as a parent, we want to be involved in the raising of our children. We want to tell them what's right or wrong. We want to tell them to silence their phones, please. We want to be able to take care of it from here. And we also want to hold them accountable for their actions. Nobody noticed Tom there, so it's all good. So those are some of the things I saw we did right. Some of the things I thought we probably could have improved on, and we had a few rookie mistakes. We had a few of our candidates that actually spoke when there was a live mic and they didn't know it. So they had somebody come up and say, hey, tell me your position on this, or hey, you know, in a very casual settings, they let their guard down. They said, hey, what's your position on this? Well, how do you really feel? Well, I feel this way. Don't you support me? And then they would take that clip of, well, don't you support me? Don't you value my opinion? well, I understand your opinion is this. And you get the clip of, here's what I'm saying. And you take it out of context. Now, if you notice, Terry McAuliffe at the end said, oh, well, the parent thing, Glenn Youngkin took it out of context. No, you couldn't really take it out of context. And Andy Fox and Andy Fox and Wavy Channel 10, they asked him again, and that's where he doubled down, tripled down, quadrupled down. And everywhere he went, when they asked him, he said, no, you shouldn't be involved. Dorothy and I shouldn't be involved. We have good schools for our education for our kids. Kids in school didn't go to public schools, they went to private education. Come on, man. Come on, Terry. Let's wake up a little bit. So what can we do better? And I'll tell you that Karen Greenhall's here, and Karen and I sat down quite a few times before the campaign, during the campaign, after the campaign. And I'll tell you, the one thing Karen did right, she knocked on more doors, had more voter contact than anybody I know. Give it up for Karen for that. And I will tell you, Helen and I, when we were going home that night, I said, Karen did everything right when it came to voter contact, knocking on doors. She's earned that seat. She truly has earned that seat. She had Larry and his brother out there knocking on doors all the time for her. They were switching from Youngkin hats to Karen hats. She had it down. And I think I remember up front saying, hey, Ty, they're going to take things she says out of context. They're going to say things that aren't true. Whatever you do, just don't go over there and choke them out. Understand that you're going to get upset and you can't respond to it. So one of the other things I think we did right, we had quick reaction communication teams. So when somebody misstepped on the other side, we actually turned it around and put it live that night or the next morning. Terry's little gaffe of parents shouldn't be involved in the children's education. Man, they had that commercial online that evening. That was quick. So it was Facebook, it was YouTube videos, it was Hulu, it was everything else. Fox News, of course. And the other thing, and this is going to be a little sensitive to some, and I've said this on the Senate floor, so I've got this one memorized, and I was like, yes, he nailed it. When they called Glenn a racist, the first thing he said, and I've said this a little different on the Senate floor, I'm going to say what Glenn said and what I've said. Glenn said, we're all children of God created in his image. I'm not a racist. And then he moved on. So I had this after a long debate on the Senate floor, and they said the same thing. First of all, you can't call me a racist. I said that we're all brothers and sisters in humanity. We're all children of God created in God's image. So the last thing you'll ever do is call me a racist. And then moved on. Glenn nailed that, and it never came up after that first time they called it to him, that they tried to call him. Then, as you noticed, even down to today, they're saying that, oh, the Republicans are racist when we had the most diverse ticket out there. And I will tell you, Winsome Sears stood up and challenged that, not just today, but she's done it for the last 4 months. And, Winsome Sears, and I'll tell you, I served with Tim Hugo. I supported Tim Hugo up front. Robert Dean said, have you ever met Winsome? I said, no, I've never met her. Well, the first time I literally tracked Winsome down to meet her. And when I had the first meeting with Winsome, I said, I'm going to write you a check and I'm going to get out there and support you. And ever since that time, Winsome's just hit home run after home run after home run. She is fantastic. I'm looking forward to her being the lieutenant governor and taking control of the Senate. She will lead the Senate for us. And I got to tell you, I saw the picture of Winsome with I think it's an M4.
Yeah.
And I heard somebody say, oh my God, she's got a gun. I looked at him and said, thank God she's got a gun. She's a former Marine. Come on, man. Let's look at it and talk. So I'm going to talk for 1 second, and then I'm going to open up the floor. So everybody has seen a lot of the stuff at our schools. You can check out the school library, some of the books, some of the things. And there's a big constitutional discussion on that. I'm actually taking a step back from that argument and approaching it differently. The way I'm approaching this with legislation, it's already drafted. Jill and I are tweaking it. We had a discussion on it today. We're going to finish it up tomorrow. I'm saying that leave whatever you want in the libraries. It's okay. But for that child to check it out on their phone, on their iPad, on their Chromebook, any way electronically, or get a physical copy in their hand, the child to get that, just like an R-rated movie or an X-rated movie, that child has to get parental approval every single time. Period. Then that takes a step back from your constitution. Maybe some will say, oh, you've not taken it directly head on. You're right. But I've hit it in the margins to control the narrative. Now, if you are serious about the educational content and that what they've shown is devoid of any educational value whatsoever, period, the end. But if you want to put something there with educational value and try to convince me of it, take something that's an international literary work of art like Lolita, throw that in there. Okay, if you had that, probably would still come up with something, make cringe a little bit, but at least it's internationally recognized as a literary work of art, period, the end. So with that, we're going to move forward. I want to know what you think we did right, what you think we did wrong, and what you think we can do better. So I know I came to some of the folks early and gave them a heads up. I know there's a couple people back here. Keep turning your head away. I got you. I saw you. There you go. Now you know who I'm talking about. Okay, we'll tell her to chew and swallow. I gave you a heads up. Say, do I get cheat sheet? Do I get crib? Yeah. I want to know, what did we do right? What did we do wrong? How can we do it better next time? Because it's all about the after action report. It's all about the hot wash. It's all about the lessons learned. So let's hit it with the first ones. We got hands going up. So we're going to start. We don't have any women first. Okay. Oh, Cap. Oh, we got two. All right. We're going to start in the back and then we're going to move up forward because you're a little slow. It's right in the back.
Bill, can you repeat?
Hey, who you calling slow?
I'll repeat exactly what his comment is.
Okay, I think I can be heard. My name's Larry Corn. We did, as far as I can tell, we did a lot of things right and we won. My only question is, why did Mr. Youngkin not respond to the NRA and the VCDL as far as Second Amendment rights? As far as their questionnaire?
Yeah, honestly, I can't answer that question. The question is, why did Mr. Youngkin not respond to VCDL or to the NRA? I can't answer that question, but I can tell you why one year I didn't respond to VCDL. And I talked to Phil about it, the president. I talked to 3 or 4 people. And I said, hey guys, look, the way you can read this, and I have an FFL. I collect machine guns. I collect guns. I've got a Gatling gun, 1862, refurbished in my front foyer. So I'm a big Second Amendment guy. I'm going to tell you right now that the way these questions were written, I had a hard time responding because it could have been read either way for the answers. It wasn't crisp and clear. And I went through and rewrote some of the questions. Said, if it says this, here's how I'd respond. Here's what I think you want me to, here's what I think you're asking for. But if you send ambiguous questions like, do you support red flag laws? Okay, well, tell me a little more because I'm not saying I don't. Do you think the sun's going to rise tomorrow? Well, possibly, unless it's going to be cloudy, we may not see a sunrise. All right, let's give me some details and let's kind of talk about it and let's pare it down. So on that's where I am.
I understand your point, and I was just wondering if there was some political motive for not answering.
I don't think so. We'll have to ask Glenn, but I will tell you, he was here in this room a couple of times. So I know there was the opportunity to ask. So let's go to Ron, Larry, Kathy, Teresa, and then Robert. So Ron, nice and loud.
I think what was done right with the Republicans up and down the ticket was they didn't bring in Trump. And that could have been very divisive. And I know the temptation was there, but you didn't have to bring him in. They did. The Democrats brought him in. Every single one of their commercials said that the right was for Trump. And I'm like, okay, yes. You know, so I think that was right. They kept it local and let the Dems try to take it national. This is a local election. It's all local.
So what Rod said is what we did right. We kept it local. We didn't go national. We let the Democrats go national, and we stayed local and we focused on the issue. Got it.
I got two things that we did right. Recent time, we had 99 of the 100 precincts covered with observers. So we had people there. And we also had every candidate that was available, every position was challenged by a Republican candidate. Those were two important things in the past that weren't being done.
So what Larry says, we had poll watchers for 99 of the 100 precincts. And the other thing is important. We had a Republican challenger for everybody, even Phil Kellum. So a lot of people say, you know, Ben this, Ben that. I got to tell you, Ben took one for the team.
Yes, he did.
Ben stood up. He said, I'm going to run against 20-year veteran Phil Kellum, the Kellum machine, the Kellum name in Virginia Beach. I'm going to run against him, and we're going to make him spend his money on that race, his race, keep him focused on his race. And Ben truly took one for the team and did that. And he still did very, very well. I will tell you, there's a lot of people who like Phil from both sides of the aisle. I will also tell you that Ben stood up and truly took one for the team on this. And I'm proud of the guy. I respect the guy for doing that. So I think next we said Kathy.
I'm concerned about the absentee ballots and the early voting. That, is there a way Republicans can get their people to the polls early, or to, I don't know how it works, but you take,
We were trying.
you take ballots to people at their house and then help them mail it in?
So what Kathy's saying is talking about voting, ballot harvesting. And we actually passed laws over the last year making that legal. I voted against it because I disagree with ballot harvesting. The Democrats took the national Democratic strategy of ballot harvesting. They passed it to allow it. The Democrats always did better than us at harvesting ballots. Before it was illegal to do it, they would say, oh, well, this person needed a little help. This person needed a little help. Well, they truly filled them out for them a lot of times. But just like on the Senate floor, I got challenged when I had them say, there's no such thing as election fraud. There's never been a founded case in Virginia. So I Googled it real quick and found 118 of them.
Yeah.
118. I started reading them off. And then, since I always tell the Democrats, cite your source, and I challenge them, they did the same to me. Cite your source.
Here you go.
So guess what? I did. And I gave it to them. You know what? I heard crickets. Teresa. Make sure we ask, we're looking for statements on what do we do right? What do we do wrong? What can we do better?
Precinct
I'm not gonna let go of the mic.
my home precinct has been dominantly Democrat since I've ever started voting there. I really, really sincerely thought with Tim Anderson as our Republican nominee that we would actually get a win in my precinct. We didn't. I looked at all my numbers. They voted Democrat straight to board. I was one of the few Republicans. What do we do to change some of these precincts from blue to red?
Gerrymandering.
Well, I think honestly, it's gonna be voter education. It's literally knock on doors and educate the voters. I can tell you Karen Greenhall converted people from Democrats to Republicans to support Karen. Really did. It's hard to be an incumbent with over $2 million. Somebody who's good with their phones, pull up VPAP. How much did Karen spend? How much did Alex Askew spend? VPAP.org will tell you. And then throw that number out here. It's hard with what Karen spent to be able to do that. And with an incumbent that had name recognition, Karen went from 0 name recognition or 2% to where everybody knew who she was really quick. Glenn did the same thing. In less than a year, Glenn went from 2% or 1% name recognition to everybody in the world. If you look at BBC, Russian News Network, German News Network, everybody was talking about our election. If you wanted to see one of the fairest comparison, between Glenn Youngkin and Terry McAuliffe, BBC had a fantastic one. Look at the Herald Tribune, Russian News Network had a fantastic comparison of the two. I mean, these guys just raw, no bias one way or another. Robert Dean's next. Robert, what do we do right? What do we do wrong? He needs a second, or what could we do better?
No, but I was just raising my hand, stay in the frame, I'm sorry.
Oh, stay in the frame, get back in the picture. All right, Larry's brother.
Al.
I know Al, Larry's brother.
All right, what we did right was the sample ballot, like you brought up earlier, was awesome. We should have had the proposal for flooding on that. What we did wrong, the Democrats did right. They had all three candidates on their main posters, the signs. And I think if we had done that, because Winsome Sears was struggling with money, we should have had Youngkin, Sears, Niares on a sign.
Okay, I'm gonna disagree with you a little bit.
Okay.
That's a good idea, Larry, but if you look at the vote, the drop off from Youngkin to Sears was very, very small.
Oh, very small.
Sears to Mieres was very, very small. We truly, the three carried it, and it was, I mean, that probably may have gotten them a couple more votes, but they still crushed it the way they did. And I
They did.
truly think
No
we
argument.
still did that right. Let's see, throw some hands up. Who's next? From the back, just yell over this way. What's your name? Annie.
So I'm fairly new to this fight, I've only been through 8 months, and I've been before, but in my opinion, when we first started our school board fight, Loudoun County told us, Daphne and I were on a conversation, and they said do 3 things. Get video, or maybe it's 2 things, get video, and piss people off, piss parents off.
Pissed off enough.
I think a lot of people, especially the parents in Loudoun County and, across the state, got pissed off because they saw video, they saw pornography, they saw proof of their career. So I think that's a really big lesson learned for our next election is that we've got to get video. Because if you can sit there and, put a screenshot of like writing up and people aren't gonna be as receptive as seeing someone else video right there to make them mad, to change their mind. That's the only way you change your mind is to get mad.
So what Annie said, to summarize it succinctly, Annie said that look at the local issues, find something that's a hot button like critical race theory, pornography in the schools, do videos of it, get it on social media, get it out there, get people fired up who are really concerned. And when you get perturbed moms and dads, that's when they get engaged and involved and will help do something.
It was like with the masks, real quick. See pictures of some of the school board members masked up and using, wanting our kids masked. We would get pictures of them in public without them. And parents would be like, what? And so that kind of makes people mad and say, yeah, no.
So what Annie just said, and we'll do this. If you had a mask on in school, you were a school board member, what? Because you take it off in public. No, private, no, outside. Anyways, the mask issue was another one of the issues. Got it. Yes, ma'am.
I was just gonna say that, I feel like, first of all, we had a lot of young people that got involved into all of our groups. We also united different groups, different conservative groups, with what we had in common and not pecking at each other for what we did.
Okay, so this is one of the areas what we did right, and I've got to commend Robert Dean for really pulling this together, Bill Curtis for pulling this together. Where's Diana, Daphne? Diana's right behind the computer, of course, right in front of my face. But all of the groups, all the conservative groups got together. Everybody had a say, everybody had a seat at the table. We had talked about this, and I know that Bill Curtis and I talked about it. I know Robert and I talked about it multiple times. Everybody said, hey, you know what? If we're gonna win, we need to, everybody's gotta have a seat at the table. Everybody's voice has to be heard. We need to work together and unify so we can win. What we did this time is truly, we worked together, we unified, and we won. And that's a strong message to send. If you think about it for a minute and look at the numbers, I've done a little bit of an analysis on this. The western part of the state, we had more Republicans turn out than during a presidential election. I think that goes back to what a bunch of us have been saying, which is we looked at local issues, we kept them local, we got people involved, engaged, and truly, those who were upset, we kept them upset through the election. We kept that passion going, and we're going to continue that passion. Now, I'll tell you, where we can falter, where we can fall back, is if we get lazy and forget how we got here. So what we need to do is what Karen has done for the last almost 8 months. Knock on doors, talk to our constituents, pick up the phone when somebody calls you, and get back to them. And Laura's going to say something here in a second. Before she gets that, I'm going to finish the thought. It's very difficult sometimes being an elected official, especially somebody with gray hair and old and long time in there like me. You know, there are days where you'll get 200 or 300 text messages and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds or thousands of emails. It's very difficult to literally respond back to everyone. We do our best, and Helen's over there nodding her head, because there were some nights that literally at 10, 11 o'clock at night, what are you doing? I'm like, I'm still responding to text messages. And then I got on email. And I'll tell you, one of the people that at 4:30 in the morning, 5 o'clock in the morning, that was on text messages was Glenn Youngkin. I would get something from him and we communicate back and forth at 4:30 in the morning. There's not a lot of elected officials who do that. So let's give it up for Glenn. Over to Laura.
I was just gonna say, so Karen has not just knocked doors in the last 8 months. Karen spent a lot of time over the last year knocking for other candidates, school board, city council, mayor. And that's one thing that we're getting better at, but we could even improve more. Everybody needs to be knocking doors and working the polls every year. Every
We're a
elected
team.
official should be handing out for others, and everybody should be knocking and working polls, even if it's not like your special candidate.
I agree with that. And I'll be honest, Karen and Todd came out, they put out flags for me, they knocked doors for me, they worked with me. We spent a lot of time together beforehand. And when Karen decided to run, we actually gave her my little secret box of stuff. I said, you don't have to write anything, tweak it, plagiarize. And we sat down truly and we shared a bunch of information. So if you ever have a call, if you ever have an issue, you ever have something that you need to know, text me or call me, you'll get a response back. And there were times that I called her and said, hey, you're doing a great job. Any questions? And back and forth, we have to, folks who've done this more than once, we've got to get out and help with the candidates who are putting their money into it, putting their time, their effort, their life, and their stress. Let's face it, every single one of us, we don't have to do this. We do this because we want to be civically involved. We want to help out. We want to make change. We want to make a difference. If somebody can give me like a 2-minute warning when I need to sit down and shut up, that would be fantastic. All right, let's see. We're going to go back to gentleman right here. What's your name? Glenn. Glenn.
Glenn Gilman.
Yeah.
Glenn Gilman.
Just,
Two ends.
Two N's.
all right,
Glenn with 2 N's. Glenn.
all right. Karen and I did some door knocking for Tim Anderson. We spent a lot of time. And early on, we realized that we were just passing out Tim's palm card. Well, Karen came up with the idea, why don't we get some plastic sleeves, to hang on the door, and we included everybody's palm card, the down ballot. And it was interesting because after we talk about Tim, then we would say, well, listen, here's a package of all the down votes. And the reaction we got from the people was, thank you, because I didn't know who was running. They just didn't know. And this gave them someplace to go and get the information about it.
So what Tim said, and I'm going to try to summarize this because his lovely bride is next to him. They've got 2 beautiful dogs. Okay. And we did this 2 years ago. So Karen and Tyler will remember it. We get from Uline, you get the plastic bags, plastic sleeves with a little hole in them so you can get it on the doors, or you can roll it up, put it in the handle of a door. It works great either way. But you go with not just yours, you go with everybody down ballot from you. And Karen will tell you that we did the exact same thing. And I believe it was Jason Mieres, when I called him one day and I said, hey, Jason, I need more of your lit. He goes, what do you mean more of my lit? You just like, we just gave you 5,000 pieces of lit last Friday. I'm like, yeah, it's Wednesday. We've given it all out. And I said, I need more of your lip. And if people provided the lip, we put it in those bags. The other good thing we did, and this little campaign secret, so keep it on the Republican side only. What we did is we put a dog biscuit in there. And with it, we put the dog bill we did, which said if you beat or torture a dog, it's a felony, period. Doesn't matter if the dog dies or not, it's a felony. And we put a little thing on that. We did a little QRC reader code thing. We did a website link. And we did one other thing where you could just point your camera to it and it would give you a copy of the bill. If we knocked on a door and you saw any kind of sign of a dog, you put one in there, and it just kind of was another way to do it. You saw somebody walking a dog, go over, give them a dog biscuit, talk to them about it. Yes, ma'am. Now the mom of these two lovely dogs.
The other thing, initially, Glenn had Tim's app, and I had Glenn's app. And what the two campaigns did, they combined us together. So, I mean, we were literally walking the doors together. And sometimes we stopped for Tim, sometimes we stopped for Glenn, and sometimes we stopped for both. So they merged the two on one single app, which made it a whole lot easier.
And it was the one that the base ended up being what Glenn had, right?
Well, it combined
Yeah.
the stuff for both of them, we use the.
So this is the same problem we've had in the past. So it's I-360 versus Glenn used another app this time, Campaign Sidekick. And this year, Campaign Sidekick took the information from I-360, they worked together. You could use Campaign Sidekick with all the information you had in I-360, and it really made it a pleasure to knock the doors on the neighborhoods. I've used both. I like both. I have no preference for one over the other. I just want the one with the best data, most up-to-date data. And if you've walked from me in the past, you notice that we put some pretty unique questions in there, but we put a little note field in there where you can say, hey, tell me if they're a Steelers fan. Boo. No. Tell me if they're a Steelers fan. You know, tell me something about it. They've got a Naval Academy license plate. They've got a flag for this. So when we send a thank you note or we send a note to that individual, we actually could personalize it a little bit. So we're going to hit Eileen real quick. Elaine, real quick. Oh, wait. Sorry. Gotcha. Yep.
It doesn't work well on older phones, or the newer phones. So for people that either don't have one or whatever, Campaign Sidekick, if you're trying to download stuff, it doesn't work that well. Like you talked about, when I would sit there and go past people who are not on my list, but for example, were flying a flag or they're military veterans or something, I had no way to be able to get that information back there. I would make sure that they got lit or talked to them or something. But that's one drawback there. I spent most of the time in September trying to get people to understand about early voting. So if we could do something maybe a couple weeks before then, to start priming people to look for stuff, you're not wasting as much time just trying to tell people about early voting and all that goes on.
So in other words, I'm going to hit it and try to summarize it. So one, work on the compatibility issues early. Make sure it's compatible to backward compatible to older phones. This is a good one. If you want to send an email to me on that, I'll get it up to the guys with Campaign Sidekick. We'll work on the backward compatibility of that. I know Ty back there, and Ty, you'd be a great one to give us. So come on up, give me a heads up. Yeah. What Ty said is basically the dog biscuits are very nutritious and they help you get through the day.
They give you a nice clean white smile.
There you go, nice clean white teeth. And I'll also tell you whether we're putting out flags or when we're doing different things like that through the community, we truly always found a great opportunity to engage with folks. So I'm going to come back to you. I'm going to go here, here, and then back. All right.
I just want to say that we noticed that some of the walk books were like my mom was on it. So it seemed very cool.
I can actually help answer that because we did an investigation on that. So what was supposed to happen is every 3 to 6 months, by law, we have to update the voter registration rolls. ever since Terry McAuliffe was in there, we've not done that. Ralph Northam has not done that. We tried to hold them accountable, but we had an AG that would not hold our voter registrar at the state level accountable. So now we have an AG that's gonna hold them accountable and responsible for their actions. So you can bet two things. The voter rolls will be up to date. If they don't follow the law, they're gonna pay the piper for it. Don't do the crime unless you can't pay the time. So Jason has already talked about that and said, I will hold them accountable. They will not be able to get away with this. We will make sure that our Secretary of Voting will be the one that keeps everything up to date. We're going to update our state-to-state voter rolls. We're going to update the death and birth voter rolls. We're going to make sure all of the voter rolls are updated. Now, I'll tell you, it's going to take a little while to do. It'll take them 6 months to get that done because it hasn't been done well, and it hasn't been done at all for almost 8 years. So we got to fix that. So young lady back here, and then I got you next.
That we should have something that we're not doing is to train or like have more training, so and get more people in, starting now for the next election season. And maybe somebody can teach us how to harvest ballots since it's legal now. And everybody here worked so hard over the past year. I mean, so many hours. If we had more people and we started gathering them now.
So this is a fantastic thing of what can we do better. So this is where I'm going back to Diana, Robert, Bill. And we need to work with Dennis Free and Bruce. We need to do better with volunteer education. We've got to start the classes, whether they're lunch and learns, whether they're Saturday sippers or, no, I don't care, however you do it, but we need to start educating people on what's the greatest, what's the latest, how do we educate the volunteers? How do we educate people to get involved, stay involved? How do we do things? If we're going to be allowed to harvest votes, what's the best way to do it? The Democrats had 3 outside organizations that sent a ton of stuff into the districts. And man, did they hit it hard. So Bill, I'm going to come to you next, but I've got this young lady right here who I told I was going to come to.
You brought up about the voter rolls. The worst one we saw was 10 names in a 1,500 square foot house, 4 last names. We found people that had moved out of state 12 years ago, people that had been deceased for years. Then the other thing I wanted to mention, like we kept our car full of signs, and as we asked people if they wanted signs, we would put them up when we finished the day, and we'd encourage them to put them in gardens, and that way the lawn care people didn't take them down. So they just stayed up.
Could you repeat what she asked us?
So,
I can't.
Two different things. I'm gonna answer both of them. I'm gonna hit the sign thing as what can we do better? So when you're knocking on doors, keep the signs in the back of your car. So at the end of the day, you can actually put them up in their garden areas where the landscaping folks won't destroy them. That's a brilliant idea. And after this, I need to get y'all's number. Y'all need to work on my next campaign. We really do need it. Let me hit the second part of it, and this is critical. And I'm going to tell you how I was tipped off to this. We've done an investigation on this already, but we won't hold anybody accountable under Mark Herring on this. So what happens is, and I was tipped off by the mailman. And one apartment complex, we have 40 people registered to each of 10 apartments. Okay? What they're doing is the organization, we did some research into this. The DNC actually rented the apartments. So what we found out was they were getting people to come and change their voters because Virginia's an off-year cycle, right? Maryland, Pennsylvania, other states around us do not have elections during our off year. It's only Virginia and New Jersey. So what they would do is people would change their voter registration. They'd register in Virginia. They'd request absentee ballots, or they come in person and vote. And then after they voted, they change it back to their states. Since we don't update the voter rolls, that never changes. Since we don't update the voter rolls, we never catch that stuff. Since we don't update the voter rolls, and haven't, they're able to get away with that for a long time. The way I was tipped off was the mailman told me. And I'm like, this guy's brilliant. He said, something's wrong. Here's what's going on. So the guy was fantastic. All right, so let's see. I'm sorry, you want one more time? I'm gonna give you one more. You guys worked your butts off literally every single day. I gotta tell you, if you get up at 4 o'clock, 4:30 in the morning, you're at the polls, you're setting up the polls, and you're there every single day from the time they open to the time they close. God bless you, man. That is a hard job, and thank you for that, truly. All right.
One of the neighborhoods that we walked was Chicks Beach, most of it is
Yep.
locked. One of the streets that we went down, the mail trucks came down and I saw on the dash, it was full of Tim Anderson flyers. And I only recognized them because we were the
Handing
feature
them
of it. And I took a picture of the mail truck when it came back. And then I got from their campaign manager, all the addresses that should have received that. And there was 4 houses that were near that mail delivery. And I spoke with each of them, none of them got that flyer. So that mail carrier was pulling out and shoving them in the dash.
That's a federal offense. So if you could,
I have a picture.
yeah, if you could, send that to me, write it all up. I know exactly who to get that to. Oh, sorry. So I'm sorry, you can't hear. So on this one, it was, they saw the mailman had all the Tim Anderson stuff on the dash, and he was required to put them at the various houses. He didn't put them at any of the houses. So they knocked on the door and talked to everybody. So with that, I said, we'll write that up, send me what you got, and we know exactly who to send that to take care of that. So next, the gentleman right over here with the Tim Anderson hat, and then Paul. Hey, Carol. Speak up.
We've been going to the meetings, like, and you learn so much in the meetings here once a month. I mean, it's so positive. Two things, they meet and they have an agenda, they have, there's always a speaker speaking and, the education, and then there's like the questions, answers, but you just learn so much. I mean, at our meetings, and they sort of like, a few good things is the meetings, but it's the early election. So that sort of drives everything, what's happening, and everybody has, but these agendas, they have people coming in and talking about the issues, and then it's like an open discussion like this. It's really awesome. And it's just, when it comes to things that we don't do, I guess, it's just like there's so much going on. There's just so much. How do you simplify that? Because there is so many, things happening that we're not doing. But one thing I found out was our positives are, the early elections, and then the way of the way like Donna and Bill, they set up the meetings and just the agenda is just so long. To have people come in and hear about issues.
I'm gonna summarize what we just went into. So what we got is during the meetings, like the Republican Party breakfast, the Libertarian Party breakfast, the Tea Party dinners, that really the speakers, it's very educational for those folks who are new to it, and they get to touch out to the individuals, and they learn a tremendous amount there, and it's truly beneficial. The bad thing is there's so many things going on, it's hard to keep track of everything and go to everything. Of course, we know that because so many campaigns, so many things. And even if, and Karen will be able to tell you this, if you're the candidate, there are days you've got 12, 15, 16 things to go to in a day, and you've got to carve it out and say, okay, how am I going to make it to all this? And you've got to figure it out. So it is truly challenging. So if you think it's bad for you trying to figure out what to go to, imagine if you're a candidate and you've got to get to 12, 14, 16 things in one day. All right, so over here to Holly, then there's somebody else, and we'll go back over here.
Yeah, there was six Democrats had something like that, not with pictures, but just a list of all the Democrats. So where I was, all we had was whoever were represented, and that's it.
Holly, which poll did you work?
That's hollow.
Okay,
It's more Democrats there.
that's okay.
They
So
should have
what
had
we're gonna do
a
as an after
ballot.
action, what Holly said was, hey, there was a Republican ballot that was throughout the entire city. She worked Magic Hollow. It wasn't at Magic Hollow. They didn't have that there. So Bill is gonna take that for action, Bill Curtis, and make sure that, that's part of the lessons learned and we'll take care of that
Election day.
on election day.
Somebody
So-
might have taken
Bill, did you have anything before I move on?
There were some things that went on. Number one, some of our signs were moved.
Yes, sir.
And number two,
Brad Martin had
there was some confusion about the people who were opening up and collecting all of the material and put them up. But we had enough of the sample ballots, large ones, for all. We had enough.
I put 10 out.
So let me just summarize this real quick. So Bill Curtis said that we did have enough, but we had some confusion with the people who were opening the polls. So Holly, were you there in the mid-morning?
I was there like before 6.
Yeah, before 6 a.m. Okay, so the problem was when Holly was there, the early ones, the folks who had those and should have been there with them, there was confusion and they didn't get them to the right person early enough.
And
So-
the other piece of that, Bill, is that we had teams and Larry and Al were there too, and there are others who were putting up the larger ones. They were what, 4x4s?
Yep, the big, bigger sign.
3x4.
But the other thing was, may I?
Yes, please, Al.
I was out that night, Monday night before voting, and it wasn't marked out, exactly where to put them. And, we didn't know where the voting was gonna happen. So we might not have placed them properly.
Allenton is always a good example. You don't know which door they're gonna allow you to go into. So
Exactly.
what Al said was, with a big sign, sometimes there's confusion if you're going out the night before. You don't know exactly where to put them because it's not really marked and it's dark. But further, you're not sure which way you're gonna go in and which doors are gonna allow you to enter to vote.
Well, I
Anna.
just wanted to say, when we were doing campaigns for, like John Moss and stuff, we made sure the person that was opening picked up the bag of materials. So they would pick it up the night before, so that when they got there in the morning, they had it, and the person never leave them, they got it from them.
So what Diana said was, here's what we did when we worked for John Moss and Bill D. Stuff and Bill D. Stuff and Bill D. Stuff and Bill D. Stuff. What we did is we made sure that whoever opened it had a bag of literature. And on our campaign, we always had a backup. And then I had 2 runners to run anywhere in our precinct. And when I was on city council, run all over the city with extra Republican ballots and what we were doing to make sure that if something was missing, we had it there. And I'll be honest, there was lessons learned after one of our last congressional campaigns. I was texting people saying, hey, I'm at the poll, and whoever was supposed to set it up didn't. I took all the signs out of my neighborhood from all my neighbors and put them at the polls, but the other person who's supposed to have this stuff for me this morning is not here. And actually didn't show up until almost 9:30, 10 o'clock. But the good thing was I didn't quite trust everybody. So, 2 is 1, 1 is none.
Right.
I went by the headquarters beforehand and I picked up literature enough to handle my shift and then a little more. And then as people came out, I asked them if they could please hand me the literature again so we could recycle it. And that was one of the key things we
Good
did.
job.
So again, that's part of the lessons learned. So right now, we're gonna go back here, here, and then to Laura. Real quick, because we want to try to hit a lot of things.
One problem that I saw was it was young kids, young guys that were handing out all of the literature and stuff from Youngkin's office. And if Diana would have been there, it would have been very organized, but I went to get our stuff and they told me somebody else had taken it. Because
Not one
the
of the
sticker
young
was gone or something.
of course,
So I hung around because I wanted to find out who had it. Because I
No.
was supposed to be there at 6 o'clock and it turned out
Yep, so I'm gonna summarize this so everybody can hear it. When it comes to package pickup, needs to be a little bit better organized. And you were told that somebody picked up your packages already. They weren't there at the polls. There's a fallback on that. And the fallback was we had one generic one that had everybody on it. So what I had done was I made sure that if I didn't have them, I picked up a couple of packages of the generic one that I handed out or had ready in case mine weren't there. I will tell you with Team Tata, they actually delivered it to my office or they delivered it to my house or something, but they got it to me because I called and said, hey, just want you to know, I went over to pick it up and it wasn't there. So I will tell you that a lot of it has to do with the campaign and the campaign's organization. And that's part of the lesson learned. You got your political team and you've got your field team, and you've got to make sure they work well together. And the Youngkin team, about September, October timeframe, the two of them, man, they had clear lines of delineation of who was doing what. It was well organized, well oiled, and they executed very well. Beforehand, you saw a little bit of hiccups. Well, you saw a lot of hiccups, but they worked them out in time to get it finished before they needed it when the time came. Real quick.
Well, I just wanted to say, like with Holly's problem, of course, I messed up Teresa's, but, the sign up genius that we had for the poll workers, for the inside workers was amazing. But I think that everyone who was on that sign up genius maybe should have been given Brad Martin's phone number. He was the runner.
Everybody should have had
I needed,
That would have been a good.
I needed lit for Teresa in the morning, and it took me all of 5 minutes to
Let me
find out it
just
was
handle
Brad.
this real quick. So
Yeah,
basically the sign up genius was really, really good, but every individual should have had a point of contact
yes.
that they could have
Yeah.
called quickly
6
if there was
a.m.
an issue at 5:30, 6 o'clock in the morning. Got it, understand. Again, these are the lessons learned that will really make it more efficient so we crush it next year. I'm sorry, I forgot about you the first time. I won't forget about you. Right now, we're gonna do you and then over to Laura. Laura doesn't mind waiting a little bit. Don't forget who? Oh, Vic, I'm sorry. Got it. We're gonna hit him, Laura, then you.
Okay, I don't know if you can answer this question or not, but one of the things you said, was like election officials, like the registrars, for not following the law or violating the law, and you said we're gonna hold them accountable.
State Board of Election.
What does that mean? I mean, does that mean so the Attorney General
I will-
sends somebody in there and arrests them?
When I say we're gonna hold somebody accountable, here's what that means. So that means if you are at the State Board of Elections, you are that head person, Mr. Cortez. And when you're discussed, have you updated these voter rolls? And you say, no, I have not. And they ask why. And you say, because my boss told me I don't have to, and I'm not gonna do it. And at that point in time, the AG will take action against him personally for not doing his job. That the governor will fire him for not doing his job. What we had instead was, you had the, Tim Hugo was the chairman of the joint committee. You had Tim Hugo sending a letter to the AG, to the general, to the attorney general, to the governor, saying this person either needs to do their job or be fired. And all of the response that came back was, sorry, we're not gonna prosecute. Sorry, he's doing what we want, period.
And we're gonna
It's a
prosecute them then.
deliberate disobeyance of our laws, of our rules. And that's the same as our parole board when you let somebody out of jail who raped somebody and they see him in the grocery store without first doing what the law says, notifying the Commonwealth attorney 30 days before, notifying the chief law enforcement officer, and notifying the victim. If you're not going to follow the law, our old AG would not hold people accountable. Our new AG will hold those members accountable all day long. What does that mean? That means they'll lose their job and they'll be civilly taken to court. They'll be sued and they'll be put in jail in some instances. That's what's going to happen.
Reality.
Yep.
We're back to reality.
So Vic, Laura, then Vic, then Leslie.
So I
I don't know what happened with the signs where Holly was at the polls.
I'm
but I
close enough,
can-
you can speak on the mic.
Oh. But I can tell you, in 2019, when I worked the polls at Galilee, I opened and the signs were delivered, but when I arrived, all of the Democrat signs were still where they were planted. The Republican signs were stacked up by a dumpster. I spoke with the precinct captain and he said, "This is my precinct. I'll run it the way I want." I immediately called Bill Curtis. He had somebody from the registrar's office come out who said, "I don't see a violation." And I have pictures.
Bill, please, come on up and let's get you to respond because
I can talk to that. Galilee Church, talking about Galilee Church?
Yep.
Okay. I know the administrator there. He called me this time to remind me what he told me before. They allow no signage on church property, period, for any campaign. Now, if the Democrat signs are there, he just hadn't seen it. I can assure you
They were right by the
that
door.
he was gonna go back and pull them all off because, they demarcated where you can do it. It had to be on
Bill, was
city
it a-
property.
so what Bill said was they didn't allow any signs there at all, or they weren't supposed to. So my question is, was it a poll? Was it a precinct?
They have the right to not have any
Understood.
signage on that.
Then what we truly need to do on that matter is take a step back, look at the big picture. We need to make sure if the church doesn't want to allow political signs, then we need to change the poll.
Yeah,
They change polling location.
Exactly, yeah.
That's what we need to do.
Yeah, they
So,
should be involved.
Vic, then Leslie. Vic?
Loud, succinct, and quick.
They had a faith and freedom, like chamber. That was the best thing out of all the campaign stuff. The reason why I say that is, that was where you had governor on one side, AG and LD on the back. And it had the issues in the middle, very short, and then yes, no, yes, no, yes, no. That worked very well when I sat there and was ran, especially Democrats, because the thing I would ask them is, where do you feel on the issue? And I had a lot of problems where the Democrats were seeking this, and I asked them, what are the issues, here's where they are. And they were like, going, oh, no, vote for this, vote for this. And I would be like, why aren't you doing something on the issue? But something like that, where it is very short, sweet, and to the point, rather than a lot of verbiage, which is what a lot of them can, that helps the undecided, the Democrats to see where they stand.
So the Faith and Freedom flyer was very well done. Had the issues on it very well. I'm not sure if I've seen that one or not. I've handed out so many pieces of lit. So if you could just take a picture, scan it, somebody send that to me. But the Faith and Freedom was a really good one with the issues, the people, and who to vote for. That was a fantastic one. So what did we do right? Faith and Freedom was one of the good ones. Leslie.
Just one thing about if you're new and doing the, handing out the literature and being the person that is there at 6 in the morning, make sure you have your materials that you're able to pass it on. The thing is, I would rent out when we unexpectedly had a big crowd of people. I would go into they knew me inside because I was a health poll working. I would ask them if I could take that big trash can and go through it, and I picked out all the pertinent, the flyers and literature and recycle them. So if you can call someone to help you get something there, but until the meantime, most of the time, at least in my experience, they're more than glad to let you go in and get, because it's not trash, it's just paper. So anyway.
So what Leslie said was recycle, recycle, recycle. Bill Curtis.
So I had three things I want to say.
All right, Bill, come on up all the way up. Then if we could, Karen, if you can come up. Karen, come on up.
Make up.
So, okay. So I had three things I wanted to say. The first, and I'm old now, so if I forget, you won't know what I was gonna say.
You can remember.
I'm getting like Robert now, so I don't know if I can or not. So the first thing is that the voter rolls. About a month and a half, 2 months ago, I got a package in the mail from the registrar's office, and it was a stack of several thousand names that had been removed from the rolls. And I called the registrar and talked with Donna, and she said, yeah, we do this periodically. Hadn't done it in a while,
They were all
but
Republican.
I'm going to give you a copy, and she sent a copy to the Dems also, the same thing. So several thousand names had been removed. Now, they're supposed to do that
is it annually? I don't know the exact, quarterly, but they're supposed to do it on a routine basis. They have not been, so that's good. It's going to be enforced. But for your information, I did get that. There's several thousand names on there, and I have that in my house right now. The second thing has to do with the signage again, and that's a problem. It has to be worked out, and we had the problem last year when I was first elected as chairman, and we had it again this year, and it was supposed to have been rectified. It was not. Each of those precinct captains is pretty much, a commander. They can do what they want to some degree because the city has not standardized the process and told them what they can and cannot do. Now, the schools were a different matter, aside from the mask thing, and we took care of that. But they can control it to some degree because they are in schools. So we have to make sure we understand that. But there are some precinct captains, and they wear their party affiliation on their sleeve sometimes, and that is wrong, and we have to hold them accountable. You all tell us about that, and we try and get out there and do something about it. But we discovered that the registrar really sometimes doesn't have much control over that process, and they ought to have more. They ought to have more, and so we're going to work again to make sure that they publicize what can and cannot be done. Standardize the rules and our expectations so that when you open that precinct in the morning, you know what you can expect. Now, they may tell you to move your signs, but it's a 40-foot distance between you and the door. That should be standard everywhere. And if they say you can't block this because we are a library or whatever, okay, you understand that. Where can we put our signs? And they have to tell you that. So if there's a problem there, we need to know about it. So those are some issues that we really need to rectify. And we have worked hard. We have worked very hard to do that. Now, the final thing I want to say is that this year we put all the signage and the bags at the Youngkin headquarters. Normally it's at our RPVB headquarters, and we have other people working it. Well, they have a larger headquarters, and we decided this year that we're going to rely more upon each of the campaigns. The campaigns know how many precincts are in their district, and they know who's at the people they have assigned to each of the precincts. So the campaigns, we wanted to come and pick up the materials, even if they use our people, our volunteers, to come and pick up the materials to include the signs. We had X number of signs. Now, if the campaign wanted more signs at each of those sites, they could provide them, but we were supposed to have that for them. And we're going to have a bag of information, which had telephone numbers on it, so they can call people if they needed more materials or if there are problems, and how to close. And they should have had my sign literature in there as well, authorizing you to go inside. That did not happen. There were some problems because we had new people. They were young and they are full of energy. Sometimes, I'll just leave it at that. Okay. So everyone had good intentions, and good intentions are not always sufficient. So everyone worked hard, and I really am pleased. A lot of you, I see you all the time out there. You did a great job, and we did work hard at it. I love this lessons learned. This is great. We're going to do it anyhow. So you've given me a head start, but we want to refine it. A lot of things went well, but that was one of the major changes. We did not do it at headquarters. We did it at the Youngkin headquarters. And I'm not so sure everyone got the word because a lot of the materials were not picked up the night before as they normally are. So normally the day election morning, there's nothing in our office. Everything's been distributed. Did not happen this time. So there were some problems there. Didn't mean to talk this long and take the mic from you, but there you go. Okay.
Bill, thank you. And I got to tell you, Bill does a thankless job. So thank you, Bill. Appreciate it. So really with the precinct issues, Bill, I hope that you'll work with city council on that because that's more of a local ordinance type issue. But truly, it's also education. So I get the liaison from council with Donna Patterson, and Donna is unbelievable. She's fantastic. She's great. You can look at Donna. You can talk to her for days and days and days and years, and you'll never know she's Republican or Democrat. You cannot tell. She is the most awesome, the perfect voter registrar. We're going to do two more questions, and real quick, just two. So sorry, Al. And then I know there's a reason I got Karen up here.
No worries.
So Elaine, we're going to give it to you first.
Last year, I don't know if you recall what the difference, we need to evaluate what the difference is. Last year, we gave a bag to every person, not just every precinct. It was cumbersome. It was hard work. Carol Pickman had to come pray over me. But each person who worked the shift had their bag. So if you were working 6 to 10 and you ran out at 9:30, you knew the 10 o'clock person had it, or if the didn't show up, you had your bag at 12 o'clock, and I don't know if that, it was very, very cumbersome, and I don't know, but I feel like it really worked.
What Elaine said was on the bags, what they did is they made sure every single person that worked every shift had a bag. Or if you had one person that worked the pole the entire time, that they literally had everything there and they just kind of controlled the pole. Like All Saints Episcopal Church, I always control that. I open it, I close it, I don't leave. So on election day, that's where I am. Everybody knows it. Everybody who comes through my pole, they see me year after year after year. One guy goes, I've seen you over 20 years at this pole. I was like, cool. Andy, one last thing. What did we do right? What did we do wrong? What can we do better?
I thought
Real quick.
the online training that we had to go through was beautiful. It gave me confidence in knowing what the rules were, what I could do, what I couldn't do as I worked. That was really.
What Andy said was the online training tool was phenomenal. He knew all the rules. What could he do? What couldn't he do? Bill, if we could just make sure that that's available on RPVB site or for our volunteers, that'd be fantastic. Now, the reason I brought Karen up is I said in the beginning, from a candidate perspective, it's hard to be a candidate. But when you look at a candidate of who does everything, you can see right. What happens in the campaigns is there's elbowing, knees, kicking, fighting, biting. But when it's outside, it's a unified team moving forward. Sounds like military organizations, sounds like families, sounds like companies, sounds like all of it, right? It is. I will tell you, Karen knocked on more doors, worked harder than any candidate I've seen in a very, very long time. And I'm proud of her. So let's give it up for Karen. Woo! So now that she's elected official or will be sworn in soon, she's got to learn how to tap dance a little bit. So we're going to put her on to answer the next question. What do we do right? What do we do wrong? What do you want? Or have somebody pick somebody and let them answer their questions.
Well, what I think we did right is working together. So the reason I got to so many doors because I targeted the people who are not hard Republicans. I got to go to the independents and the Democrats and the swings and actually change people's minds right there at their front door because so many of you guys were out there knocking doors. I could go and target those people. But one reason I came tonight, and I have to say, my campaign was a little bit different because I've missed so many events because I knew I could count on you guys. I didn't have to come and win your vote. I knew if you were in my district, you were going to vote for me anyway. So anything that took me out of my district, away from my doors or away from my phone, I didn't go to. So I missed so much, and it's such a joy to be here with y'all tonight. But
Glad to have you.
But when I look around here, there are so many people in this room that walked doors, that donated, that made phone calls. And I wanted to be here tonight to tell y'all from the bottom of my heart, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Every single one of you. And yes, yesterday morning, when my campaign called and said, we need people to go and find these provisional voters. We have to go and track them down and get them out. Well, the Republicans were already involved. So they said, who can you call? So I called Diane and I called Robert Dean because I knew that they knew how to get hold of the people who come and help. And when I got to the convention center, she walked in right behind me with a bunch of people. So I just thank y'all so much. So did anybody else have questions or?
Well, where do we go from here? Your voice is really close.
You talking about me?
Yeah.
Well, I actually just got a phone call. I got some news that I really don't feel at liberty to say live online, but it's looking really good. We're going through a process that has to be done, but we're very confident that I'm going to be certified with everybody else on Tuesday.
Thank you. Hi, do you have what her opponent spent and what she spent? Do you know how much her opponent spent and how much she spent?
I am so happy she won.
Okay. Well, we know that her opponent had well over $2 million. We also know that there was outside money that hasn't been reported yet, where you have
Bloomberg.
Well, we know it's Bloomberg, Soros, Bill Stiles, Cyrus out of Charlottesville. We know where it all comes from. But there's outside money that's influenced in literature, TV, radio, online ads that we're not aware of that doesn't get reported quite yet. I'm going to turn it over in a second, but I will tell you. Oh, you got another question?
Yeah.
All right.
Where do we go from here? We had Youngkin saying that he was gonna get rid of the gas tax. Are we going to make a parity with the federal government for standard deduction? Are we going to do school choice? Because he can say all that stuff, but don't you all have to put those bills in?
That's correct. So here's what we're doing. So through rules, we'll figure out how many bills we can put in. Normally, the senators can put unlimited bills. Okay. Last year, they said, oh, we're only going to allow you to put in 15, 20, 25. Anything over that, you have to request unanimous consent. Well, guess who's okay with unanimous consent? Every one of the Republicans on the Senate side has been told, make sure you got plenty of slots open for any governor's initiatives. The one I talked to you about earlier was one that the governor's gonna really want to do. We've got two more that we're doing to repeal things that the governor talked about. One of them was, and everybody knows what happened in Monmouth County with the boy that went in the girls' bathroom, then they transferred him, it wasn't reported.
Right.
Okay, so that section of the code, I want to say, as soon as I heard that story, first of all, I stood up on the Senate floor arguing and saying, this is what's going to happen. Didn't listen. Democrats were smarter than everybody else. Whatever. It's all good. We don't care. Well, if the governor doesn't like it, he'll fix it. Just jam it out of here. That's what happened. Well, I've already got it laid out in a bill to repeal that and move that forward. It'll be carried by me or it'll be carried by another Republican, but it will be carried this year. We've got, I think, 8 different bills. We have 8 different bills that we already have drafted, ready to go. And it's either going to be carried by me or another Republican, but they've all been authored by me. I just want them to get through. So I'm going to find the most powerful person to push those through on the committees that has the heart, understands the issues and jams it through, or it'll be me pushing it. So it'll be one or the other. And then on the other side, I'll have somebody in the House of Delegates like Karen standing up to push the bill as well. The one thing I want to say about financing. So this was the first time that we had a budget to match the budget of the Democrats. It's so important to be able to do that. Karen won with being outspent 4-1. My last campaign, and I got a little cocky on this because I went forward and said, hey, $2 million, you buy my seat. And they said, well, we'll double down. They put $4.5 million against me. So I was outspent 7-1. Karen was outspent 4-1. And it's hard, but I got to tell you, this is where we need everybody to dig a little deeper, ask your friends, ask your really rich friends to help your favorite candidates. And it's so, so very important.
You're my
But also,
rich friend.
so just so you know, when it comes to knocking doors in that grassroots, that's where it's won. It's won in the chatter. Robert Dean won before in the chatter. Bobby Dyer won in the chatter. John Moss has won in the chatter multiple times. John Moss won in a special election. And I got to tell you, I went and talked to John and Robert and a whole group of people. I said, Robert and John, all the stars have aligned. This is your time. If we don't get it now, we're not going to get it. We all worked and busted our butts. We were doing flag waves. Remember the flag sign waves and everything? Come on, guys. You remember that? We did everything and anything to get the attention of the voters and to get our message out. Look, they say, hey, if you see the message 3 or 4 times, then you're probably it'll settle in. Heck, man, they saw our stuff gazillions of times because we did not stop. And that's what it takes. Karen did not stop. Barry Knight did not stop. These guys just don't stop. And I'm telling you, nobody has ever outworked me yet. But I got to tell you, that's what it takes. That's what you got to do. How do we do it? We can't be lazy. What we did this year, we've got to do next year. We've got to pick our city council and school board candidates who we're going to support. We need to put them on one ballot, one piece of paper, and hand them out. And I can tell you, you want to know where I'm going to be election day? I will be on election day, every election day. I'll be at All Saints Episcopal Church or my voting precinct. I'm going to hand it out and say, these are my friends and I need help. Please help me. And I'm going to beg people for it. My delegate, Tata, she crushed it at my poll. My poll was her strongest poll in the entire district. Duncan, I believe I had the first or second strongest poll for him in Virginia Beach. Jason Mears. I mean, I'm out there, and Leslie Jones will tell you, she crushed it for soil and water conservation. I handed out her literature on my poll all day long, and she crushed it because of that. I think we got more at our poll than, yeah, like 45,000, but we crushed it. And it was just, you got to get everybody. You got to hand it all the way down. And you've got to have it on one piece of paper, and that's what matters. So with that, I'm going to sit down, shut up, and hand it over to Diane.
All right.
Let's have a round of applause for Bill and Steph. Woo!
So we control the governor's mansion, we control the House, and we have the AG. What can we do to address all of those flaky rules that they established for voting? 45 days early voting, and what can we do? Is anything can we do?
I'm going to hit this real quick. So Bill has said for all these rules that we put in over the last 2 years, that's taken the Democratic national voting thing and jammed it down our throats. Again, he with the gavel rules, and the Democrats had it, and they ruled it, and they said in 60 days we'll change it. Well, 60 days they changed it, 90 days of special session, they changed it worse, and then the last one they killed us. Well, the pendulum's coming back. So what can we do? We've got to stay focused. We've got to get it done. We've got to take the Senate back next time. If we can't flip one seat in the Senate, we're stuck. You've got a stalemate for the next 2 years. If we can flip one person in the Senate, get 2020 or 2119, then we can get this stuff rescinded, pushed back, and fixed. That's what we can do, and that's how we have to do it. Thank you very much.
Woo! Okay, thank you, Bill. Okay, I just wanted to make a couple of announcements. Keith over here is doing 50-50. If anybody wants to get 50-50 raffle tickets, please see him, right? Are you doing, you want to come up here and show the quilt? Do you have it? Okay, we're gonna have a Christmas party at our next meeting. It won't be a meeting, it'll be a party. Woo! Right? This is a handmade quilt, and she's selling raffle tickets to be able to win that at the Christmas party. So if you'd like to buy a raffle ticket for that, you can see. She was, no, she didn't make it. There's a very talented lady that makes these. So
Two for 20.
$10 a ticket, and I'm selling them starting tonight.
Two for
Right,
20.
and the 50-50 raffle tickets are 6 for $5 or 1 for $1. Okay, so we're gonna go to the business. So do we have a quorum?
Oh, yeah.